name is Brad Inman, and I joined OLLI, as it was renamed by that time, about 10 years ago, so about 2007. Like so many other people in retirement, I didn't have a full-time hobby, and I needed some stimulation other than doing Sudokus and hiking in the woods and cutting firewood and things. So it needed to stimulate my mind, and somebody introduced me to the OLLI program, and it sounded like just the ticket. Well, actually, I ended up coincidentally on a rather fast track. When I first joined, I attended classes and did not have any serious volunteer assignments. I class hosted a few times, but other than that, didn't have any committee responsibilities until one day a good friend of mine who was an OLLI member and actually on the OLLI Council suggested that I ought to consider running for office. So I did. The way the council decided the various jobs for the various new council members as well as the existing council members, it ended up that there was no job left for me. So the then president, Lucy Strasberg, said, okay, there's only one job left, and that's vice president, so you're it. So I became vice president for my first year. And then subsequently, they decided not to evict me from the job the next year, and so I succeeded Lucy as president. Well, I think my only accomplishment is that I managed to survive without blowing my top at anybody or having anybody blow their top at me, which is somewhat of a miracle, I think. But together, the council undertook some pretty significant programs and projects. For one thing, during that period of time, there was a growing discussion within the OLLI community as to whether we ought to continue to grow or not. There was a faction of our membership who were reluctant to see us grow. They were afraid we'd lose our identity, we'd lose our camaraderie, that it wouldn't be the same and whatnot. All good and legitimate concerns. There were another faction of our membership that felt that we had a duty to expand, at least to offer our services to a broader community. And to that end, the council undertook a series of investigations, open houses, meet and greet with various community groups throughout the greater Rogue Valley area, including Grants Pass and Eagle Point, Shady Cove, and the broader area, and trying to determine what the community would really like out of the OLLI capabilities. And that discussion continued and culminated during my year of the council determining that we would want to grow from 1% to 4% a year, give or take, but grow what was termed organically, which means we wouldn't go out and advertise ourselves particularly, but we'd make ourselves available. We would encourage people to join, but we wouldn't do a membership campaign kind of thing. Our membership at the time was about 1,500 or so, and there was concern that if we, at the rate we were growing, we would be getting close to 2,000 within 5 years, and that was just too much. We didn't have the infrastructure, we didn't have the teacher base, the instructor base, we didn't have a lot of things that were needed in order to accommodate that kind of growth. So, as it turns out, we did end up growing at about that rate. And I'm not sure what the membership is this year, but I think it's around 1,800 or so. So it's continuing to grow, but manageably. Another thing that we did during that year is when we looked at our bylaws was that they hadn't been touched in a long time, as many organizations' bylaws experience. And so we undertook a pretty significant reevaluation and modification to the bylaws where it was appropriate given where OLLI was at the time, the changes that had occurred in the community and such, so that we could make OLLI's administration a little more efficient and a little more user-friendly for our members and a more transparent administration for the members. So those are probably the two big areas that happened during my tenure, if you will, or while I was on the council. People in outlying areas obviously were anxious to see us expand our facilities geographically. For instance, could we open a branch office in Eagle Point and in Grants Pass and such? I mean, all good ideas, but we haven't been able to accommodate that, partly because I think of numbers, the number of people, and that sort of thing. Another thing that we did find out is that people seem to be very busy, got a lot of their intellectual information from online courses that the internet industry and university systems are now being able to offer. And so a lot of people were pursuing their own at-home extracurricular or extra out of retirement kind of educational opportunities. So that kind of reduced the demand for the kinds of things that OLLI was offering and able to offer. And otherwise, the traveling to Ashland principally to attend classes for a lot of people in the Medford and beyond area was somewhat difficult, people felt. I happen to live in Medford, and I have never found it particularly difficult for me, but for some people it is. And one of the things that we did try to do during my tenure was to broaden our membership base in Medford and beyond through these discussions that we've talked about, and to increase the offerings of classes at the Higher Education Center in Medford, which is a wonderful facility. And we are very much underutilized, that facility. So if we can offer more courses there, get more members to attend classes there, I think that will help OLLI in the long run. Yes, we did, but we never got to the point of committing ourselves to do it. There was general agreement, it was a good idea, and it's something that we probably want to offer, but we never wanted to get into competition with other resources like RCC or like the internet course offerings that would compete with. What we were trying to do was to fill what we were hoping was a need that wasn't being filled otherwise. So it didn't seem like the internet online was really quite right for us, at least at this time. Now there are some other OLLIs, I understand, that have undertaken that, and I don't know what their experience has been, but I assume it's been positive. Well, one of the obstacles, and it was an opportunity, of course, but Sally Klein, who was our then executive director or program manager, had decided to retire. And she submitted her retirement letter to SOU and us during my presidency. So that created a real challenge for us, but it was an opportunity also. And we've been very fortunate in being able to land Rob as our new program manager. He's just doing a wonderful job. So that was one thing. Another was perhaps that a continuing difficulty with any kind of an organization like OLLI, where you have a diverse mindset of the people that you're servicing, that you're working with and championing. And it seems like on any particular subject, there are people that want to do it this way, and then other people that want to do it the other way. And you have to moderate, mediate, adjudicate, and hopefully get a compromise or a consensus compromise that works for the majority of the members and doesn't offend or hurt or deny anybody their basic rights as a member. So that is always a challenge for an organization like ours. Well, particularly in our discussions of, some people may term them debates at times, over membership growth. And because that got to be pretty emotional at times on both sides, and rightly so. And it was good discussions, and it was healthy, and everybody was, we never had people flying off the deep end. Everybody ultimately was gracious and considerate of the community group as a whole, and so we were able to work those issues out. Being involved in the administration or leadership of any nonprofit is a challenge, because you're dealing with volunteers, a very few paid staff, but then hundreds of volunteers. And by golly, volunteers have a mind of their own, especially mature ones. And they also have an opinion that not only does their opinion count, but they have an opinion that they have a right to certain things. And because they're volunteering their time and effort, and so they've got some entitlement, and by golly, they do. And so that is a challenge, especially when you've come, as I have, and so many others have, from an environment, a working environment, where there's a structure, where I report to somebody, somebody reports to me, and we all behave ourselves. In my time period, approximately 10 years, I would say it's matured, it's become more professional. We have broadened our staff, we've added staff. We're fortunate that we have a very generous endowment that we rely on for a substantial portion of our income. And by the way, I should mention also that during my tenure, we unfortunately passed a dues increase and got the membership to approve that. And that was a major undertaking, because like many organizations, there had not been a dues increase in a number of years. And so it kind of came as a shock to the membership to have a dues increase. And of course, a lot of the members frankly said, I'm surprised it hasn't gone up already, and it should go up higher because of the value that the membership fee is giving to its membership, which is true. It's an incredibly value-centric operation. We do an incredible job for a lot of people for very little money. And so I'm pleased and proud that OLLI is able to do that. But again, it's in part due to the generous contribution of Osher. And but we did pass a dues increase, and that was during my tenure, so it's probably time again. Well, it is undeniably the best value for broadening and increasing education of us as individuals in retirement that I know of. I can't imagine any place, anywhere, any way that you can get more opportunities to pursue a variety of subjects from an incredible wealth of instructors that OLLI offers. And I'm just pleased and proud to be able to participate in it and help support it however I can.